So in this routine, we were placing unit fractions on a number line, and we were estimating where they would go based on the benchmark numbers of 0, a half, and a whole. So we started by looking at what our mathematical goal was and what our communication goal was for the lesson. And then students were given 2 cards, one that said greater than and one that said less than. So let's take a look at our first number. Can someone read this fraction for us?
1/10.
1/10. Is 1/10 greater than a half or less than a half? Okay. So we have a volunteer that can place this on our number line. Okay. And can you tell us why you placed it there?
Because it's closer to 0 than 1/2. Because if it's closer to 1/2, it'd probably be 5/10.
Does anyone disagree? All right. Let's take a look at our second one. We're going to think about if the fraction is greater than a half or less than a half. And please hold up a card. And what fraction is this? 1/12. Okay. Do I have someone that can put 1/12 on our number line? Can you tell us why you placed that fraction where you did?
Because it's not 6, and it would be, because 6 plus 6 equals 12, so it wouldn't be a half of it.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you knew that it was going to be smaller than a half because it's not equal to 6/12. Okay. And why did you decide to place it between a 1/10 and a half?
Because 12 is bigger than 10, so I'll put it right there.
Okay, so when we think about the size of our pieces, 12 is a bigger number than 10. But think about the size of 12ths compared to 10ths. That's a 12th, and this is a 10th. What do you notice?
10th is bigger than the 12th.
The 10th is bigger than the 12th. Do you have any idea why?
Because the bigger the number, the smaller it is.
Okay, so looking at the denominator, how many 12ths would be equal to a whole?
Probably 12 more 12s.
12 12ths. And how many 10ths would equal a whole?
10 more 10ths.
Okay, so do you still think that a 12th is bigger than a 10th? Or did you want to change its placement on the number line?
Change.
All right, go ahead. And just tell us one more time how you know where to put a 12th.
Because it's not 6/12, and 6/12 is a half.
Okay, so you knew that it was less than a half because 1/12 is less than 6/12. And how did you know that it comes in between 0 and a 10th?
Because the 12s is smaller than the 10s.
12ths are smaller pieces than 10ths. Our next number is 1/3. Is 1/3 greater than or less than half? So we have a mixture of less than and greater than. So let's think about this for a minute since we're estimating where these numbers go. Can everyone take a look at the number line from 0 to 1? And can you picture it broken into 3 equal pieces? Give me a thumbs up when you can picture this number line broken into 3 equal pieces. Do I have someone that can put 1/3 where they picture their first third to be?
Somewhere like here.
Okay. So we can picture our number line being around.
Wait. Yes, so it's somewhere around here.
Okay. So is 1/3 greater than or less than a half?
Less.
It's less than a half.
I thought it was greater than.
Same. I thought it would be like over there.
Yeah, I thought it'd be next to the one.
Okay. Did picturing the number line broken into 3 equal parts help you see that it would be less than a half? So something that's valuable for students about using this benchmark strategy is really being able to reason about the size of a unit. In this activity where they were really thinking about a half, they also had to then think about which of those fractions would be closer to 0. And a lot of times students will look at the denominator of a fraction and say, oh, the bigger the denominator, the bigger the pieces, because that's the way that it works with whole numbers. So I think that the benchmarking really has them slow down and think about why they're placing the numbers where they are. And the fact that we're not just looking at it compared to a half, but also compared to 0 and 1 really adds to that deeper understanding of where we would reason a fraction to be on a number line. Next one. Is 1/4 greater than or less than half? Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you can tell me where 1/4 would be about. What are you thinking?
I think it would be somewhere around here again. But at the same time, somewhere around here.
Okay.
Like next to the 3.
Okay.
I think it would be over here because, like, now that I think of it, it kind of seems that it's bigger because the 4 is bigger than the 2.
The 4 is bigger than the 2. Okay, interesting. Let's take a look at our fraction tiles because that was the same reasoning we thought of before when we were placing the 10th and the 12th, right? We were thinking that a 12th was closer to up here because the 12 was bigger. But think about what that does to the size of our pieces. Here we have a whole, and this is 1/4. And we're comparing it to 1/2. So what do you notice about a 4th?
A 4th is only a half of 1/2, so you'd need another half to make a full half.
You need another
1/4.
And which of these numbers is closer to 0? 1/4, okay? So we do see that 1/4 is actually less than a half. Even though that denominator's 4 and it's bigger than a 2, that means that there are 4 pieces that will equal a whole. And this is 2, so those pieces are going to be bigger. Okay, so putting these away for now and thinking about that denominator. The denominator 4 tells us we're dividing it into 4 equal pieces. So picture where 1/4 would go. Okay. An interesting thing that you had mentioned, which I'm just wondering if we can think about the placement a little bit more, is you told me that 2/4 are equal to a half. I actually think you said that a 4th is half of a half. So a 4th, does this show that a 4th is half of a half? Does anyone want to adjust this 4th, or are we good where it is? What are you thinking?
Wait, no, I think it's good.
Okay. All right. Next fraction. 1/8. Is it greater than a half or less than a half? It's less than a half. So now when we're taking a look up here, my question to you is 1/8 going to be greater than a 4th or less than a 4th? So where would we place this? Thank you. And can you share with us why you decided to put it there?
Because 8s are tinier than 4s.
Okay. All right, so we have one more fraction that we're going to take a look at to place on the number line. And we're going to go back to our original guiding question of, is this fraction greater than a half or less than a half?
Wait. I don't have some cards.
Okay. This fraction is greater.
Oh, I just realized.
And who can tell me where this would go on the number line?
I feel like right here. Like on it, there's someone put it there.
Yep, and if a fraction is equivalent to a number, we can put it just like that. They're the same place on a number line, and that is our fraction 1/1. Placing fractions on a number line using benchmark strategies is really important in an intervention group because it allows students in a small group to really talk through their thinking about numerators and denominators, and pieces getting bigger or smaller can be really confusing. So giving students a space to communicate that, where a teacher is able to work with them and really pinpoint what they're trying to say, that is one of the reasons why it's beneficial.